I have all these like very fancy questions for you, but one just popped into my mind. I need to know the story of your name. It is so unique.
I think she was the mother of Cyrus the Great, who was the king of Persia. So I was technically the queen of Iran. Persia, I don't know.
Which makes sense. Now I get it. Which I think your story moving from Iran to America is so powerful. We hear so many immigrant stories, and I'm moved by all of them. It takes so much fortitude to move to another country. Will you share that story?
Yeah. So I was born in Iran. It was after the revolution. So it was during the Iran-Iraq War, and so many people had fled already, right, during 79. And so it was it was really scary. Like, I don't have a lot of memories, and they're starting to come back more and more as time goes on. But like, so much of my memory is, the fear in everyone's eyes, like the morality police, seeing just like women in hijab and men. It was such a weird time.
How old were you?
I was almost 6 when we left. And, there were bombings almost daily with Iraq when the sirens would go off and lights would go out and we'd have to hide and, for hours on end, just until we were allowed to go back up for safety. And, one day my dad there was an explosion and the impact from the bomb, he went blind in one eye, and like the doctors and so many people that could have treated him were gone. And so it took my mom forever to get us an opportunity to leave for his surgery. And so ultimately, first they were like, leave your kids at home and then you can take him. And she's like, it's a war. I'm not leaving my kids. And then they said, you can take him and the kids for one day, but you have to sign your bank account, your home as collateral, which we did. And then we just never went back. So I don't really have any baby photo. I mean, we just left, and then they seized all of our assets, and we went to Italy. My dad went to France to have his surgery. He ended up having a retinal detachment, which they treated. And my brother's now a retina surgeon. So it's like a very cute full circle story. But yeah, we went to Italy, and then Highest, which is this amazing organization, helped us resettle. And so we came to New York and we got this little studio, and they helped us like find the studio. And we all slept on a bed on the floor. And my dad got a job as a shoe salesman and made $4.10 an hour. And we all learned how to speak English. And that was kind of the beginning of it all.
I've heard you say that, you kind of alluded to it, that you don't have a lot of childhood memories. Have you been able to understand why?
I think it was my trauma response is always freeze or just to suppress memory. Mm-hmm. After we left Iran, I just had no emotional connection to it because I didn't belong there, and it wasn't my home anymore. And I guess I had so much gratitude for this country that I always felt like this was my place. And I never looked at photos of Iran. I never looked at video. I never was curious. I had no curiosity about it. Yeah. And then when the woman life freedom movement started, and my video feed on my phone was just like little girls and women that looked like me and my daughters. And I'd never seen Iranian women in my feed, and like songs. And all of a sudden, like so much started coming back to me, like so much memory. And then I just went down this rabbit hole of just wanting to see all the places I'd been as a child. And that really brought a lot more back.
What did you feel? Was it anxiety, excitement? What came flooding back?
There was like a lot of heartbreak and nostalgia. There was just this like deep sadness, I think, that I will never be there again. Although now I have a lot more hope that may be possible one day. But also, like, I think part of what always drove some of my activism is this, I think, guilt that I felt about like, why am I lucky? Why did I get to leave? How do I make it worth it? Like, God or whatever you believe in gave me this chance. And so I always felt this huge responsibility to make it work or make it worth it, or to have like the universe and my parents feel like whatever sacrifice was made for me to have this chance, that they were going to be like, okay, that was we picked the right one. Or like, we're happy with this decision.
Do you remember feeling that at a young age?
Yeah, all the time. I always felt this responsibility. I think also because I could see my parents struggling so much, like financially, it was so unstable. My mom, learning how to speak English so she could teach us and helping us navigate this culture that was so foreign to us. I used to watch Full House all day to like learn how to speak English and mimic their behavior. And it was just, I think I could see how much they were struggling. And I think I felt like, oh, that was for me. And so that I think there's a lot of guilt that comes with something like that. And then also I always took that on as responsibility too.
I feel it in a different way. My grandmother was a Holocaust survivor or is. Wow. And I from like 5 or 6 years old had this idea that like, I better make an impact because I could have so easily not been here. Like it was like by such luck.
Wow.
But I understand that feeling really deeply. Do you think that your story leaving Iran has impacted the rest of your life?
Everything, yeah.
How so?
I mean, I think the drive, like the ability to work harder than everyone else. I also think sometimes like my fear of not having a safety net also pushed me to work really, really hard. This desire to prove it, I think also drove me sometimes too much. And I also like thinking ahead to times like, and we'll talk about this later, but starting I'm a voter, right? When I saw the migrant children being separated from their families, it was like the most visceral response I had was remembering when we came to America. And when we got to New York, was the scariest thing I'd ever seen in my life, right? Like it's the sounds, the cars, like all of it, it's so foreign. And I held my mom's hand and I was like, okay, we're going to be fine. I have my mom. And the idea that whatever these families went through, leaving your home, going through the most horrible circumstances humanly possible to come here because, by the way, our Statue of Liberty literally told them to come here. And then you take their children out of their hands. And then we lost some of these kids. We orphaned some. I mean, to take that safety, I mean, the only thing that these people had left away from them, I just like every part of my insides imploded.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think that like those moments are so formative and I see it. It happened after October 7th too, where you go back to that moment, right? Like when I saw like one of my earliest memories, and I spoke about this at the United Nations, was like remembering the morality police in Iran holding a gun to my head.
Yeah.
And like when I saw, the Hamas videos very early in the morning of October 7th, it was just this like, you remember the fear and like who these people, like so it comes around so much.
For anybody who doesn't know what the morality police are,
yes,
will you share?
Yeah. So in Iran, there are a lot of laws, and many of them which really suppress women. So women aren't allowed to dance or sing. They're not allowed to have bank accounts. They are supposed to ask for permission to get married. There's so much that holds women back, and obviously they're required to cover. And so there are police, they're called the morality police, that essentially enforce those laws. But there's no they just take you from the streets. If they want to, they're allowed to intimidate you. They can do essentially whatever they want to you. Yeah. And so you see people being imprisoned all the time for protesting, for dancing, for showing their hair, for wearing a skirt, for anything. And it's just that sort of constant fear around you that these lunatic, insane men are going to come at you. Yeah. I just feel like it's so wild that people live that way.
Yeah, it is. In a 2015 interview with CNN, you were asked what keeps you up at night. And you said current events, they're unbearably depressing. So 2015, 10 years later, and a lot of people still feel like the news is unbearably depressing, maybe even worse than before. Are you coping differently now?
Yes. It's so funny. You mentioned that article in the first image is like, God, I hated that photo. So like coming to substance, hold on. I think that I shifted to doing, I think I've had so many different careers and I've built so many different things. And so I realized for me and the way that my brain works, and I process grief so much better when I do something. So just getting up, joining a movement, anything helped me so much. And so I think it's not that I'm less sad about the state of the world, because Lord knows it is scary out there. But I do think the idea that I have worked so hard on the issues that I care about makes me at least feel like I can maintain my integrity, which is the literally only thing I ever care about. Like I realized throughout my career that that is the only thing I will take with me. And so when I go to bed at night, that is the only question I ask myself is like, did I abandon my integrity? And I don't care what the consequence or cost of that is.
Why integrity? Because some people are driven by other words.
Because I have to live with myself and I have to look my children in the eyes and I have to know that I did right by them. And I think even as an activist, like I have seen people I thought were leaders behave like such cowards because they were afraid of their Instagram comments. Like there are moments where I'm like, is this real? Even in a company, like, yes, just like I've been asked to do layoffs in ways that were not okay. And I just like, no, I'm not going to leave this world with regrets about how I behaved in it in the ways that I could control. And I always believe there's a way to do things with integrity and to treat people with integrity. And I think, my dad, it's just my family, like everything about the way that I was raised was always rooted in just how you treat people. And so I don't know, it's just not, it's the one thing that I feel like I would regret forever. And I want to know that I can look at myself in the mirror and I don't know, be proud of myself or also live with myself.
I'm having sort of a weird experience listening to you because when I was very young, my mom, like this girl was being mean to me at school. She was bullying me. And my mom said to me, I wanted to be mean back. And she said, Danielle, there's going to be a lot of moments like this in your life. And you have to be proud of the person staring back at you in the mirror. And those words have permeated my entire life. And so my word is also integrity. And I'm sure a lot of people's words is integrity, but I've never actually interviewed anybody who said that. So I'm just so, I don't know, curious, connected.
Yeah, I think the way it was always so important to me that like you could go to anyone that's ever worked with me and ask them what they thought of me. And almost always they would lead with like, she's so kind or like, she's a good person. And that was really, and I'm good at my job and I'm good at what I do. And that's also really important to me. But the way that I show up matters so much to me and the example I set for my daughters. And I think I really thought I'm a Voter was a test of my commitment to my voice. And it was because, it's weird. Like, I think part of the way that you're raised as an immigrant is this, like, at least for me, was I almost like created a persona of what I thought an American was, right? And so I would be what I needed to be to advance in my career or in rooms or whatever. And I was so malleable. And like I would, not in a way that I felt like made me a bad person, but I could pretend to be like good at something or like, whatever was on the resume. I was like, sure, I can do that. I speak every language. I can ride horses. I can do whatever. Like, it's fine. I'll learn it after the interview, And so I would watch these shows and so I sort of created this projection of what perfect was. And I would behave that way all the time. I was always perfect. And it was like so stressful at the same time. And I was trying so hard not to disappoint my parents and my family and all the people that mattered to me. And I'm a Voter was the first time where I just was like, fuck it. This is who I am. This is what I think. I know there's a lot of people that don't agree with me on my politics. And I really didn't care. And I never not cared what sort of my community or people thought of me. And the more I sort of like spoke, the liberating feeling of just being 100% myself in my own body is like probably what I think people feel when they go skydiving. Like it was the most exhilarating experience I'd ever had. It was just like, oh my God, I'm free and I can just be whatever it is that I am and I'm going to be fine and people will still love me. And that was like so powerful because I think that totally changed how I showed up in the world in every facet of my life. And I think October 7th challenged that even more because it wasn't just, am I going to stand up right now and speak up again about something that's so important to me? But it was, what the most beautiful part of I'm a Voter, I always said, was like the people it brought into my life and the community. And October 7th, I think, put me at odds with so many people that I looked as like my leaders and like, I don't know, people I built.
Community.
Yeah. And it was an intentional community, right? It wasn't like, oh, my town. It was just the people that I was like, oh, these are my people. We're fully in it. We're aligned. We're like soldiers. Like we're going to, we're here to serve our country and protect, the marginalized communities together. And it was yeah, that was weird. That was hard. That was really hard.
There's like grief. There's major grief around that. I can imagine.
It's it's weird. I'm one of those people, like, I try not to have like emotion at work. I'm always like, I'm fine. Like everything's, I'm fine. My answer to everything is I'm fine.
You don't ever cry at work.
No.
It's amazing.
God, never. Oh my God. No, I'm just like, get shit done is my only like mode of operation. But it took me a really long time to process that I was just heartbroken. Like it really hurt my feelings. Like it's like so weird for me to say that because I'm terrible at saying that sometimes, but I really was so angry. I was so upset. I was so frustrated. I felt like I was screaming at the top of my lungs and no one could hear me every day. But it took me a long time to process, like, oh, wow, I feel really let down and sad.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to see. I think I also felt a little abandoned.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like really alone, really, really abandoned.
What happened in your life or what shifted before I am a voter that you just threw it all away and threw caution to the wind?
So I had always, like, giving back had always been a big part of my life. Like I started my first charity in like 4th grade. And I was like, I'm like literally like it's my school like charity thing. And then I would do all these donation drives. And I was, I worked as a project leader at LA Works. So I would run these LA Works day events with like 3,000 people and like 7th grade. Like it was always a part of me and it was always my independence, but it was like weirdly things I would do that nobody knew about. It wasn't like, I don't know, but it just felt good. And it felt like, I loved that so much. And then we started this charity, I want to say when I was like 25, and it was all about like, it was a group of us, it was called World Child Project. And we would go down and try to help these orphanages in Mexico become self-sustaining. And that was an incredible experience as we take these buses down and like sit with the community and build greenhouses or computer labs. And I'd always loved politics. Like I really thought I was going to be a senator since I was 6 years old. It was like the first memory I have of me in the US was being like, I'm going to like seeing the White House and saying I'm going to work there. And I never understood what these things meant. But I had stayed so close to politics and it mattered so much to me. And I think I worked so hard on the election and obviously did not want the results that happened in 2016. But again, I think I was able to compartmentalize it and go to work. And even though I was so sad, but the chat, like literally, so when I saw the video of the child separation policy, I was on parental leave. And there was that like, what on earth did we just do to these families?
Okay.
And I just got on a plane and I went to Tornillo, Texas, which is where the first camp was. And I saw the kids and you're like something, and I love this country. You know, it's not perfect, but I know what life is if you're not here. And so I've always been raised with the most gratitude for this country and this like deep patriotism and an obligation to like make this country better. And so to go there and to see, you're just like, something is broken. Like politics aside, like if we as a society can't agree that forcibly removing children away from their parents is the worst possible thing you can do as a government and as a country. I was like, something is wrong. Like algorithms, societies, social media, like there's something severely wrong with us. Yeah. And so I came back and I didn't know what I was going to do. Like I literally had a newborn and I started taking meetings with senators and congressmen. And I really thought that I could just help. I was like, okay, let's talk about your audience segmentation strategy. Like, what are you doing? Tell me about your videos. Let's see, can we like up your brand? What are I just thought I would do.
You were using like your tools.
Yeah. I was like, okay, like I'm going to just help you guys. And then we're going to like make this better or communicate this issue better or help you win more seats or something. I don't know what I thought. And then every meeting just kept saying, like, sure, help us. But if you really want long-term systemic change, we need higher voter turnout. And
that was the message.
Yeah. And I had that, I just call it like my legally blonde, like what? Like it's hard moment, you know, like, oh.
Why can't we fix voter turnout?
Of course we can do that. That's not hard. And, you know, when you work on, you know, the world that we come from where like you launch a mascara and sell, 10 million units and you're like, I don't understand. This is not hard. Like how many Marvel movies have we launched? Like we have to be able to figure out how to get people to show up for something that is actually so cool and so important and so impactful and such it's such like a powerful form of self-expression for people that value art. And so I do, anytime I like have an idea, I just call smart women. And so I called 25 of the smartest women I'd known and worked with. And I was like, hey guys, can we meet on Sunday? And I don't know why. I don't think I thought anyone would come, and everyone came, which was really cool. And we like sat on the floor and like just talked. And it was sort of, I think I remember saying, we have a new client, it's voting, their product drops in November. How do we get people to wait in line? What if we just became publicists for voting? What would happen? And CA joined as our co-founders, and then it just sort of, and I didn't go into it like, I want to start an organization. Let me apply for 501c3 status. Like I just was all in on like, if this is the way that we're going to have change, I'm really good at this thing that I'm good at. I'm going to do it this way. And there's a million people that do a million other things in this segment, in this space. Yeah. But we're going to do our version our way. And we all did it pro bono as volunteers. And I mean, it became so big so fast. It was just like, you just never know, right? Like I always live in this fear of like, no one's coming to my birthday party. So you're like, every time you launch something, you're like, is anyone going to come? But it was wild to see the community response.
It was when I first heard your name because when we were growing up, it was Rock the Vote. Mm-hmm. And that was like the cool voting message. And there had not been anything since. And you created it. And I was like, who is this person? And also Sarah Riff made those Jimmy Choo shoes that said vote that Sophia Bush was wearing. And I was like, what? This is so cool. What's happening? What was the most exciting part about it?
I think I had this like dorky hypothesis that like, no one asks you to help, right? Like, why aren't people asking you for help? You're so smart. Like, I don't understand. Like, I was like, no one is showing up at these women who have been the brains behind the biggest companies, films, influencers in the world, right? Yeah. And so I was like, okay, if we went to our contacts, like if everyone, I always believe in this like big pot, and if everyone just put in a little, because everyone takes on the responsibility of like, oh, this problem is so big, I'm not going to be able to fix it. And I'm like, you don't have to fix the problem. You just have to do a little bit of the solution, right? Like, and so what if we just made this big pot together and like went to everyone that we knew and asked them to throw something in? And so if we made the brand that was cool and we made it nonpartisan and we made it safe and all of the things, and my best friend, Tiffany Bensley, who's like the chicest, coolest woman in the entire world, like did the brand, you know, she helped start The Row and Violet Grey, and she's just amazing. And so
takes one to know one.
So we went and everyone went to their people, right? It wasn't like, nothing went through me. Everyone was like fully in power. Everybody was like an owner of it. And you don't ever come from that scarcity mindset, right? If you really believe in abundance and you really believe the more the merrier, like everyone take ownership, everyone be a founder, like literally who cares?
Yes.
And everyone went out to their relationships in tech and finance and entertainment and fashion and beauty and was like, hey, you have windows. Can we use them? You're sending boxes. Can we throw something in them? Like, you're a makeup artist. Would you wear that? And you have a fashion show. Can we put stuff on your runway? And everyone said yes. And that was what blew my mind, that like all these people were just waiting to be asked. And so like Disney was like, sure, we have all this unused ad space. Would you like it? And we're like, huh? Yes, thank you. That would be awesome.
So cool.
And so it was just so cool that it was like, and this is what sounds so dorky, but it was a community project, right? It felt like we built this like little garden together. It was that was what was so awesome, was that like no one owned it. And I don't think I ever anticipated that happening. And then there was like the Friends moment, because I love Friends so much. I mean, Jennifer Aniston.
Wait, what do you mean the Friends moment?
Like we did. So I read the statistic once that said a reminder from a friend makes you up to 2 times more likely to vote. And so I created this campaign called Register a Friend Day, which we like totally made up. And so we trademarked the slogan, friends don't let friends skip elections. And we changed our text code to, text friends, whatever. And so the friends, like the 3 women from Friends posted to launch the campaign, and then Gwyneth Paltrow and Robert Downey Jr. did this video that was amazing. And we had 100,000 people that day confirm their registrations, which was wild.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was the craziest day we've ever had.
What's something that I Am a Voter and the movement taught you about our political system that inspired you, something that you think more people should know?
I think it's two things. One is that these people work for us and we have so much more power than we understand. And so our job is to hold electeds accountable. But also just how much the system needs us. Like, I think that we don't really understand, like, people are like, I do X for a living. What can I do? And I'm like, everyone needs you in so many different capacities. I think it took a while to really understand how much power we had, how much it meant to everyone when we showed up, how cool it was to build community and find people that you love, and how much of a difference you can make. Like, I don't think I really understood it.
You hit on something that I hear so often nowadays, and I don't even want to call it apathy because it's disappointment. People feel counted out of the system. Smart, interested people are like, what? I'm one person. When did you really know that your voice actually made a difference?
There's one thing that, like, I thought was always weird that I would think about so much, which is like, this sounds so strange to say out loud, but the idea that, like, you have as much power in our government as Beyonce is really is so cool. Like, you can't, like, buy a VIP table at our government in a way, right? Like, you get one vote, she gets one vote, right? Like, it's the greatest equalizer of power. It's so cool. And the idea that, like, if you don't show up, guess who is? You know what I mean? And so, like, you actually matter the exact same as everyone else, no matter who they are or how much money and so that means so much. I think I also, like, came from a place where no one had that power or privilege. And so it blows my mind that people could just sit out something that is what hundreds of millions of people would literally kill themselves for.
And do, trying to come here. You
know,
people lose their lives trying to get to America.
Yeah. And again, it's the only way. I think people, like, in the world of Amazon Prime, like, everyone wants whatever it is that they want in 24 hours. But, like, that's not how change works. Like, our government wasn't created in a way that it would change and show up at your doorstep in 2 days. It's just going to take a really long time, and you're going to have to show up over and over and over and over again. But change happens. Like, even, we talk about my best friend Shannon Watts, but, like, when she started Moms Demand Action and look at the progress they've made in 10 years, that is wild, right? But they show up every single day. And so if you care about something, you can't be discouraged because it hasn't happened. It's not that it's not going to happen. It just hasn't happened yet. And like, it just needs more time.
What I'm feeling from you is this word optimism, though, because I think a lot of people, and to be honest, I'm a huge patriot. I live by the quote, that former President Bill Clinton said, that everything that's wrong with America can be fixed by everything that's right. And I deeply believe that. And still, I sometimes am like, I don't have time to go protest. I have to go to work. I need to sleep. Like, how do you think about that aspect? Because I do feel like a lot of young people think about that.
Again, I think your work, for example, is creating change, right? We're having this conversation so that other people can hear it. So, like, work shows up in so many different ways, and it doesn't mean you have to protest. Like, there's so many, like, pick up the phone and call your uncle who said the racist thing and just have a conversation with him, right? Like, you can do the work in so many ways. And so I think part of it is reframing the way that you think about, like, showing up for your community and your country. So I think that makes a big difference. I also, like, I'm like a giant labradoodle. Like, I just wake up and I'm this, like, super dorky, really positive human. I'm just like a hopeful idiot. And I could not be an activist if I wasn't. I have to wake up and believe that things can be better. Like, and I'm committed to how long they take. It doesn't mean that I don't have, like, real anger about things, which I do find incredibly motivating. And the anger is important, and it is very present in me a lot of the times. And then I just watch some tragic television and go to bed, and I wake up and I'm like, and then we try it again.
Reignited.
I mean, yeah.
There's some criticism on social media about activism, that it can be performative. they say performative, not productive. I've heard kids call it slacktivism. Like they say it's easy to post. What are you really doing? Can it be both? And should it be? I think about this a lot.
Yeah. I always think about it in like buckets. So like anything is better than nothing. So if your solution, if you're sitting there and like judging other people's way of showing up and you're literally not doing shit, I'd rather take like something. The point for me that is lost sometimes is consistency. I had this issue a lot with the ceasefire, right? Like, which is like, it's not like Beetlejuice. You can't just like say it, right? It's not, you're gonna wear your pin. And then what do you think happens? Like, do you think no one thought of a ceasefire and no Camp David in all history was able to solve the most complex geopolitical conflict? You're going to wear a ceasefire pin to the Grammys and now everything's going to be fine in the Middle East, right? Like, what is the point of that? And so sometimes the issue is like, I don't know what you're doing, because it's not like everyone there doesn't want a ceasefire and everyone here doesn't want a ceasefire. So like you absolve yourself of any moral responsibility just because you say those words. And we're here like doing everything we can to try to solve this. And like, so that shit makes me crazy.
Right. Is that what people say is virtue signaling?
I think so. I think it's like, you're going to post a black square, but you're never going to do anything to like hire people of color, or, you know what I mean? So I think that also is performative activism when it's being referenced. I also like, again, I felt, you know, I'm so emotionally invested in Time's Up. I was one of the first people to sign. We posted the things, we talked about it. We held, you know, we all did trainings, and it was such an important moment in our collective consciousness. Like, I do think that the way people show up to work will forever be different because of that movement. It was so important, right? And my therapist taught me not to say but. So it really helps in our marriage. So, and, you know, I remember testifying at the United Nations about the sexual assault of women in Israel. And it wasn't like something we just thought. I mean, first, there were firsthand accounts. The rapists GoPro'd it. They had manuals. So the Hamas had manuals for October 7th that taught them how to say, take off your pants in Hebrew, because that was a premeditated act of war. And so we hold this United Nations session, and it wasn't with like a bunch of fascists. It was like Sheryl Sandberg and Hillary Clinton and Kirsten Gillibrand, right? And I sent it to my like feminist pioneers. Not a word. And that's the stuff that I'm like, I don't understand. You're like, that's the integrity part. It's like, you're so scared of your Instagram trolls, bots. Like, what is this that you can't call? Like, we can't hold this boundary together.
Right. Something that feels so blatantly wrong.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think when I talk to people about it in like a corporate setting, I think the most important thing to think about is consistency. And I don't think people have to show up on every issue. It's like, I say this when we talk about influencers and activism. It's like, you don't have to say something about everything. Just pick a lane. Like if you want to talk about environment, that's amazing and that's beautiful, and mean it, show up, like do the work, learn about it, ask questions, bring on experts, like do the work throughout your products, through your content. And like, that's it. You don't have to show up or be an activist about every single issue, because then it doesn't feel genuine, right? It's like, you just, I think it's 100% okay for people to sort of pick their lane. And, but if you are going to speak up on 99 issues, then hold the line on the 100th, you know?
That makes sense. Do you ever struggle feeling hopeless?
I think sometimes I struggle. Like I don't know that anything is changing. I know that it is, because I know it takes a long time, but I think there are days where I'm like, did that make a difference? Like, you know, because it's so much work, some of these campaigns and some of these movements. And I think you just have to believe in the change and how long it takes. But there are days where it's just like, can we be done?
Do you just sleep it off?
I love to cook, so I cook, and that's my biggest stress reliever. And I have a lot of dance parties with my girls. So like we just put on really loud music and just dance for a long time.
That's so sweet. I want to get into, you have had such an interesting career, and I want to get into that, but I have one more activism question.
You can ask me anything.
Elie Wiesel once said, "We must always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented." For anybody who is scared to speak up, doesn't know how, what would you say?
You will never regret honoring your integrity. I was appointed recently by President Biden to the Holocaust Memorial Council, which was the greatest honor of my life. And I was in DC 3 weeks ago. And we had our first board meeting. We went to the museum. We had all these conversations and we met with survivors and their families. And, you sort of sit in these moments and you're like, the Holocaust didn't just happen, right? There were millions of decisions that everyday humans made that enabled Holocaust. Mm-hmm. And some of those decisions were silence. Some of those decisions they were abusing somebody next to you and you didn't say anything or you looked the other way, right? It was the first time where they sort of infringed on someone's rights and you didn't say anything. The first time they started removing people from their homes and you just were like, I'm sure it'll go away. This is temporary, right? All of the people and all of the decisions that they made and all of the people that enabled these leaders to get to this place are how you commit the greatest genocide in history, right? And so I think, silence is really powerful. It actually is a decision. And I think that was the most important sentence from one of the Holocaust survivors who spoke. He said, silence is a choice. You're not being passive. You are actually actively making a choice to be silent. And that is a choice that you live with. You're not sitting it out. You're making a choice to be silent.
I feel that when I watch these videos of people being deported right now. I'm like, oh, this is how it started. And you just feel like there's nothing you can do. So you've launched a new endeavor called One Mitzvah a Day. Can you explain the meaning of a mitzvah?
So after October 7th, I started an organization called Kalane Foundation. And we have like a bunch of different projects that we've incubated and launched since then. And all of them are sort of meant to address a very specific, concern or issue. Or I always look at it as like an opportunity to bring people together or change perspectives. And a mitzvah, technically means commandment, but it's kind of used in culture to mean a good deed. There's such an organized movement to boycott Jewish-owned brands, Jewish authors, which is wild. And so I realized that the penalty that people were paying for standing up against anti-Semitism was almost too high because every time they would be doxxed. They would have people calling them. They'd have people protesting outside their house and they're like doing the right thing. And so I wanted to create almost a counter love movement, right? Like, what if we just organized a community of people that said thank you? Mm-hmm. And so that really is how it started, which was every day you get a message and it's like, today we're going to thank these people for doing, members of Congress, Trader Joe's, Netflix. It could be anyone, any cultural leader, Apple for parting ways with Kanye, anyone who just sort of takes the decision to do the right thing and making sure that they hear from our community as well how much we appreciate it, because we do, obviously. And so, and now we're starting to do more localized work, which is also what's really cool about the platform and being able to know where people are. We launched Mitzvah Maker Day actually last month, and that was just a day of service. And we had people in like 25 cities organizing community service projects. And we had like really cool, dorky swag and merch and like taco trucks and ice cream trucks. It was just awesome. And it was like a beautiful day out in your community. And that's like who Jewish people have been for thousands of years, right? Like our entire culture is rooted in tikkun olam, right? Which is this idea of repairing the world and doing good. And so to see the whole community just like out and like singing and eating and doing good was just like what I think fuels me to keep going.
Yeah. I saw photos. It looked really wonderful.
It was so fun.
It did. Your career has spanned law, media, fashion, tech, activism. You started as a corporate attorney. Mm-hmm. Then you became a talent agent. Then you served as VP at Rachel Zoe Inc. Then you were chief brand officer at Everything But the House. You served as president of Archwell, which is the media and philanthropic company founded by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Of everything on your resume, I'm sure there's things I didn't even mention.
Yeah, no. I'm like, there are.
What position or job has taught you the most about yourself?
I think everything taught me something pivotal. You know what I mean? Like, I think being a lawyer was learning that I can say no, because that was my parents' dream. And I just did not want to do that. And working with Rachel, like, that was the most entrepreneurial environment you could ever be in. If you're an entrepreneur, we just kept starting businesses. And like, they had so much trust in me to build and launch and lead. And it was just like a playground. I'd never learn more. Right. Everything with the house was the most I could learn about what I don't like, who I don't, what, like, this is not right. And that was great. And I'm a Voter taught me so much about the power of shaping culture and brand, and like what community, like what a badass group of women can accomplish, you know?
Yeah.
Archwell really solidified like the importance of storytelling and impact, and how beautifully like those can work together, and just seeing like both, you know, principals that I worked for, just how much they cared about both of those things, and being able to weave them in through all the different facets of the company and them and what they wanted to focus on was really, really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
It's like all building blocks.
Yeah. And I think most recently I've just understood like my own power. And that was, and just being able to keep going, to say no, to not be intimidated, to be okay, you know, with negative, like, to know that like louder isn't correct. I think like the world and algorithms are so hard for so many people, and it's so hard to decipher like what is true, and you're a journalist, so you deal with this all the time, right?
I have trouble sometimes online.
And I don't know, I think the power of believing in kind of your own knowing, I didn't really ever have before.
Really?
I think I just questioned it. I think I always, throughout my whole career, I always thought like there was going to be like everyone, because I was like, I always felt fraudulent a little bit, like, because I was like, I don't belong here. Like, they don't even know that I don't know anything. Or like, they don't know that I'm like some little kid who's like no money, barely speaks English, right? Like, it always felt like a little bit of imposter syndrome. And I was advancing so quickly in careers that like everyone else like had done for 20 years before me. So there was a part of me that was always like, do I know what I'm doing? But then the more you sort of advance, you realize like everyone's kind of just figuring it out, and everyone's full of shit to some extent. And so you just learn to trust yourself. I always thought there was like a right answer, and that someone knew what the right answer was, that everything always equaled something, or there was like a multiple choice and one of the answers was correct. And so I think it took me a very long time to understand that sometimes like it really is just gut, or it is your ability to sort of pick a path and believe in it. And like, even if it's not right, you make it right.
Did you ever, I hate the word failure, so I use pivot because I think it always leads into something else.
Totally.
Did you have a specific pivot that taught you that?
So I think the concept of like failing fast is really important, right? Like being able to look at any relationship, like a husband, like a spouse, a cousin, a friend, a friendship, a boyfriend, a company, a job, a campaign, and being able to say like, this isn't working. And like immediate and very quickly be able to pivot. And I've done that a million times, right? And I think part of my whole career has just been me looking at something and being able to say, like, I'm a voter wasn't called I'm a voter initially. It was so called something else. And it wasn't clicking in my head. It just wasn't landing. And you're just like, it's not right. And I know it's not right. And then it just becomes right. Everything, there were so many things in my life that were like that, where you're just like this. And the faster you, like, and the more quickly I think you can just respond to that knowing, the faster you will get to where you want to get. But that's hard. That is like a skill, I think, that takes a lot of confidence to be able to say, like, it's not landing.
Because it's just trusting in your instinct. Yeah. What's something about working with powerful people that nobody prepares you for?
I mean, God, there's so much. I think the speed at which everything moves, like everything is so fast, and there's so much that comes at you, and the ability to sort of be able to make decisions very, very quickly. You don't have like time the way that I think you necessarily always want time. Like there's so many opportunities and so many things and so many requests and news and whatever that just comes at you, and you have to very quickly be able to say like, that one's right, or these are wrong, right? And and really believe in them. But I think the ability to achieve so much, right, is so cool to me. Because especially, and I think thinking about all the people that I've worked with, the obvious ones, and then the ones I've worked with as advisors, and like, just, I think I gravitate towards people that just like think so expansively. And that has taught me so much about being able to just do so many things at the same time.
Yeah. It feels contagious, like expansive thinking begets more expansive thinking.
Yeah. I think my like most allergic I am to people are the ones that feel scarcity minded.
Yeah.
Or who like fixate on things that are wrong all the time.
Why allergic? Did you used to feel that way and you don't want to go back?
No, I can't. It like makes my whole body and brain, like even talking about it, it like makes my insides shut down. I can't be around it. It makes me crazy.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, why? There's like so much. Even people that used to come to me all the time. It's like, why did you start Kalane Foundation? There's so many organizations that exist that combat anti-Semitism. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Is anti-Semitism fixed? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, is there no room for other people to come in? Like, I can't think that way. Like, there's always space for new ideas and innovation and people to come and partner. And like 1 + 1 is 10. And I just I can't understand like people that are like jealous or scarcity minded.
Yeah.
Especially when it's like women on women shit. It makes me crazy.
You are an expert of the pivot. And honestly, in my DMs, because the women that listen and watch are so usually really career focused and purpose driven. And there's a lot of questions about pivoting, when it's the right time. I'm curious if you have 1 or 2 signs to know that you're in the right place, in the right job.
I think I have this like, there are moments in my career where I felt like I was dead inside and I was not learning. And when I feel like I'm not learning and I'm not growing, I'm just like, it really shuts me down. So that was always when I felt like, okay, it's time. But a lot of my pivots were led by my curiosity, which was like, okay, like even when we were doing this and I really like, oh, wow, tech is really booming. I want to go into this sector and I don't really understand what this is. And I'm so curious about it and I want to go learn about it. It was more me chasing something I really wanted to understand or learn. I don't think it's ever too late. Like I think everyone is like, you're more than qualified to do anything. I mean, if you have, I genuinely believe that if you have common sense and if you will do the work, there's nothing you can't do. Truly. I have no idea why I got the jobs that I got, but I knew that I would work harder than everyone else and that I don't know. Yeah, I think as far as like what is the right time, I think when there is that like deep curiosity when you're just like, get me out of here. Like put me in coach, that feeling of like, I just want to try this thing, like is the moment you should leave.
And when you feel that curiosity, what are the things that you do to walk towards it? Are you a researcher? Do you call friends? Like how do you navigate that?
I like to take a lot of meetings. So one thing when I was practicing law and I realized that I really don't want to do this, I realized, so like when you grow up in an immigrant family, like everyone does the same thing. I don't know if that was your experience, right? There's like 3 jobs that everyone has. So I didn't even know what other people did. I was like, how am I supposed to go out and figure out like what I want to do? I don't even know what is an architect? Like what does an editor do? Like actually, if you work at a magazine, what do you do on a Tuesday afternoon? Like none of it, I never met anyone that had these jobs. I didn't know, I never talked to them. So the first thing I did.
I'm trying so hard not to laugh. You're like an engineer, a lawyer, or a doctor.
Yeah, maybe a dentist. Maybe if you're loaded, you worked in real estate. Like that was literally what it was, right? So it was like, I don't know what any of these people do.
Yeah.
And so my husband.
My dad was a dentist.
Right?
My dad is a dentist.
Yeah. See, cool. And so my husband, who's my boyfriend at the time, was like, just take meetings with people. Everyone's happy. If you're not asking them for a job, especially, they're totally happy to talk about themselves. I was like, great. So I took meetings with everyone I thought had an interesting job. And I was like, can I take you to coffee? And I did. I would just go to coffee. I'm like, what do you do? Like, what does it mean? What makes you good at what you do? And I would be able to listen and say like, oh Lord, I'm not going to do that. Or I would be terrible at that. Or that does not sound interesting to me at all. And then there would be something somebody would say where I was like, oh my God, I want to do that right now.
That is so cool.
Yeah. And I met with this guy who was a talent agent and he was a commercial agent. I loved brands. Like I was always obsessed with brands. I'd done licensing as an attorney on our hospitality team. And he was explaining what he did. And I was like, can I come to your office on Monday and work for you? And he's like, I'm not hiring anybody. And then, okay, cool. I'll just show up. And then you can decide if you want to start paying me. But I think you sort of know. You feel it.
Wait, tell me about the scrappy things you've done. I love those stories.
Everything. I mean, even like as a kid, like I remember growing up in Beverly Hills with no money and, you know, this immigrant family. And then I got this bit cool job in college. And then I looked at these rooms and I was like, oh my God, everyone dresses so well. And I like went to the flea market and bought a sewing machine. And I started making my own clothes. And then everyone was like, oh my God, you have the best style. And I was like, okay. Everything was sort of like something to hack in my brain. It was like, oh, okay, this is an obstacle in my path to whatever I deemed a success. And so it was just a matter of how I was going to hack that system.
Now that I'm hearing more of your story, I'm wondering if, like what it meant to you when you were able to purchase your own clothes and your own like nice pair of slacks or any of that. Did you care?
There are moments still to this day where I'm like, is this real life? You know, I just can't even process where I am. And then I'm just so heads down working that I don't process it at all, which is the worst. I'm really, I would say more than anything, trying to learn how to be more like present. And, you know, there was this last year I went to, and I was working really closely with the White House, which is so surreal, knowing that like I walked by this as a kid and now I'm friends with everyone here. The First Lady and I are and all of it is always wild. And my brother, I invited him to come with me as my like date to something. And he and we got this, our own like private sort of tour of the White House. And just he and I were like skipping, holding hands like we were little kids about this place that we loved more than anything in the world. And just like, I can't believe they let us in, right? I've had a lot of those moments where I can't believe any of it. Yeah, it happens all the time. Like, and I still feel like one day they're going to figure out that I'm not supposed to be here.
Are you able to take them in?
I try, like did you ever see the video of my daughter with President Biden? Mm-hmm. That was like I was a mess. Like I cried for days, but it was the most sort of like full circle of my life, you know? Just like I fled my country because it wasn't safe for me to be Jewish there or a woman. And now I'm at the White House at a Hanukkah party. And my daughter is telling the president of the United States that she's going to be the president one day. Like what? Where does that happen? That's crazy.
That's the American dream.
I know, and that's crazy.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And so I don't know, that stuff happens all the time. And also like when brands dress me, I'm always like, what?
Yeah. It's like, that's a gift. Mm-hmm. This idea of reinvention came up for me a lot when I was researching and prepping. And I'm wondering if you think there's something that people misunderstand about starting over, especially once you're at the top of your game. Because like you're constantly pushing forward. I think there are people who have careers and it's like, you know, you're at the same place for 30 years. That's not been your experience. Do you think people misunderstand things about starting over?
I don't think that you're starting over, right? Like I'm really good at building brands. So like whether I'm doing it in fashion, in tech, for democracy, on anti-Semitism, for a tech company, for mascara, like it's sort of the same. Like I'm just applying something I'm good at to a bunch of different situations. And the learning curve in those situations is a lot, right? Yeah. Like so I don't think that you are someone who is a very skilled accountant who's worked at a firm for 10 years and is starting over by taking a new job. Like you are clearly really organized, really meticulous. You understand sort of a structure of working that you will apply to anything else that you do. And I don't know why you do that job and then you can't go work in merchandising for a fashion brand. Like, yes, you may not know everything about that, but there are plenty of people around you that can help you for what will be a 3-month hard learning curve. But I just don't I don't think that it just evaporates all this experience.
Yeah, I agree with you. You have 2 daughters.
Yes.
What about the way you are raising them are you most proud of?
I try to include them in everything. So we go everywhere together. I bring them on trips. You met Andy at Democracy Heroes. Because I always feel like the best way to learn is through experience. And if I get to go somewhere cool, I want them to be able to experience it. And I think that makes a really big difference for them. One, so they understand what I'm doing and why I'm away or why I'm traveling or what I'm spending my time on, but also because they get to meet incredible people like you, right? Like the idea that they get to meet someone like you and talk to you and, shake your hand and ask you questions. And
I felt that way about meeting her. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She was so, she knew herself.
Yeah.
And I clocked that because I just thought I was watching her watching you on stage and she was so proud of her mom and also she knew she could do that one day. That's what I felt.
She's such a force, but she's the best. She's my best friend. We have so much fun. I'm going to Ohio on Saturday and I was like, you're coming with me.
That's so cool.
So all of that is great.
How did you go about raising a confident girl?
I think part of it was just growing up in a family that there's just so much love, right? Like everyone in my family just constantly hugging and loving on these girls so much. And I think part of, if there's anything I felt like I lacked as a child, it was, I never felt like I was sort of understood by my family. I was very different than everyone else that was Persian and Jewish, or everyone in my family so different than my brother, who's the male surgeon figure. And there wasn't, and I think given how much they had to figure out in their lives, right, they never really had the capacity to be able to say oh, you're really good at this, or you like this thing. And let's go deeper on whatever that is. And so I felt like I was sort of on my own a lot to figure out myself and who I was and my interests. And I think I tried so hard with our girls, and my husband tries so hard with our girls to really see their magic, really from every moment that they were born, being able to pull out what their magic is and hone in on it and share that with them and figure out is that something you want to do more of? Should we take a class on that together? Do we want to talk about it? And make space for them to keep nurturing it. Mm-hmm. And I think they have a lot of confidence in their own skills and not what I want their skills to be.
That's cool. What do you want your daughter to understand about her worth that took you decades to learn?
That it's not defined by other people. And she gets to define what that is. I think I spent too much of my life wanting approval from other people.
So you just launched Our Campus United. Can you tell me what prompted that?
Yeah. So when we started seeing the huge outburst of anti-Semitism on campuses, I started traveling to the different campuses, speaking with student leaders. We hired a publicist for some of them. We tried to figure out how to get them on camera, how to tell their stories, because it was so hard to break through what they were experiencing. And then we convened a summit here in LA and had a bunch of these student leaders that were testifying before Congress come out here, and really had a 2-day session where we asked them to lead with what they want. What are you not getting on campus? What's the support that you don't have? And these students all together, really under the leadership of this incredible woman, Yasmin Ohapsian, became Our Campus United. And so they're all sort of the founding team, very similar in parallel to sort of how I Am a Voter got created. And it started with being able to create a way for them all to convene, community events, bringing back joy, creating resource guides so they wouldn't have to figure out how to navigate anti-Semitism by themselves. And it was all of this amazing stuff. But one of the things we kept hearing from them over and over is that they were being like doxxed or silenced or excluded from their student newspapers if they were Jewish or if they had any pro-Israel points of view, which was just crazy to me that they were prevented from those spaces or that their own student newspapers were writing terrible things about them and not giving them a platform to respond. Like multiple students or many students had their own newspapers write things about them. And so I sort of had to like, all right, fuck it. Let's just make our own newspaper, right? It was like, I'm not going to sit here and like fight with all of these schools. We've launched so many digital media properties. So we went out and started talking to a lot of my friends who work in that space. And we thought about the importance of creating, again, one space where all of these students would not be silenced and they could celebrate the joy and their culture and their opinions and interview people. And so the OCU Chronicle, we just launched on Substack, and we have over 40 different students contributing, sharing their stories, interviewing big cultural leaders. And then we have like shopping lists and Jewish founded products. And then you have like Samantha Ronson's like summer playlist and, you know, Jessica Seinfeld's cookies. It's just like, it's great to sort of see community and culture celebrated and seeing these students share their voices. And there's this kid who went to the encampment every day and invited someone that was protesting against him out to coffee and would have these amazing conversations with these kids. And they would, you know, have one-to-one like conversations and heart-to-hearts about their challenges. And, you know, he writes about what that journey was and what he learned and building those bridges with people that, you know, he never thought he could agree with. And these stories are so important. And so being able to just like celebrate these students and give them a platform is pretty cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, rapid fire.
Uh-oh.
A common theme in your life.
Never stopping. I don't know. I'm so tired. Maybe that's why.
I'll give you a nap.
I need a nap.
What makes you feel most alive?
Dancing and Shabbat dinner.
Fill in the blank. The older I get, the more I realize.
How important rituals are to me.
What's your advice for somebody who's finding their voice and learning to use it?
Just use it already.
A book that changed your life, something you think everybody should read.
The Way of Integrity by Martha Beck.
One thing every woman should try once.
The two things come to mind. One is travel by yourself. And two is eyelash extensions. I don't know.
Honestly, that's the breath of womanhood right there. Okay, grab a question everything card, please, and pick whichever one speaks to you.
This is very, can we talk about how nice this packaging is?
I mean, coming from the brand expert, thank you very much.
This is beautiful.
It's so sweet.
I feel like this is like my tarot card situation.
Yeah.
I feel so much pressure of like, what's the right one?
You can pick it.
Just kidding. All right.
Okay.
Okay. What's something you wish people could see about you that they don't see at first glance?
That is my favorite card in the deck.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's really deep. I would say a lot of people, when they meet me, tell me that and this sounds so weird to say out loud, that they find me intimidating or they feel like I'm this like harsh, tough person. And I am this, as I said, giant labradoodle in my own mind and in my heart. So I feel like that is probably the thing that's most misunderstood about me.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. This is really fun.